Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 38, Henderson versus Shogun 2. Overall, I thought it was a really good card. A lot of finishes of various types, body kicks, rear naked chokes, punches, lots of punches. A lot of controversy, flying knees. Lots of controversy as well with like Scott Jorgensen versus Husia Formiga. A lot of point deductions. My picks were terrible. 3 out of 11. I got Hans Stringer correct, Fabio Maldonado correct, and Hunted Jason correct. I thought Norman Park should have won his fight. That was also very controversial as well. Only solace I can take is that from what I've seen from a lot of picks, most people got some pretty crappy picks. A guy I was talking to on Bloody Elbow got 1 out of 10. So, I feel bad because, getting a lot of picks wrong affects my credibility as an analyst, as a guy who analyzes fights and fighters and their styles. At the same time, it's MMA. It is still very unpredictable. And the fact of the matter is, 9 out of 11 underdogs got wins, according to the Karen Bryant said it in the UFC post-fight show. So, this is not... if you go with Vegas, most people got this wrong. Got a lot of picks wrong here. Like I said, though, good card, fun undercard. Lots of finishes. Lots of... not lots, but there are good amounts of controversy, though. Interesting upward movement with some fighters. It's pretty bad losses for others. There are definitely fights here that people needed to win, and they didn't. And guys like Henderson, not desperately, but 3-fight losing streak. He needed to win when he needed it. Other guys like Honey Marks or Scott Jorgensen, who's like 1 of 5 now, needed wins pretty bad. Honey Marks, I say that because he's the only fighter coming overweight. 2-fight losing streak, not a good look in the UFC. That's why I say he needs a win too. Let's get started. Dan Henderson beat Mauricio Shogun Rua by TKO 1 minute and 31 seconds in the third round. Talk about a come-from-behind victory, and it just kind of shows that Dan Henderson, you can never count the guy out, because you're watching the first round and the second round, and it's like, dude, he got dropped, almost finished in the first round. Second round, uppercut, dropped, almost finished there, and he looks slow. Just physically speaking, he looks slow. He throws kicks funny. It just looks very slow. But, man, he still has that right hand that can change the complexion of the fight. And change Shogun's complexion, as it pretty much broke his nose. They were tied up in like a clinch, and on the break, Hendo lands a right hand that gets Rua just flying. He rolls, Hendo got some punches to the back of the head. He got one more punch that probably put him out. And then some follow-up punches. Some controversy here, as he did hit him in the back of the head. To be honest, there was one punch when he was like turtled up that got in clean as Hendo was running towards him. And that's all that it needed to finish the fight. Dan Henderson is a man's man. I don't know how else to say it. A lot of guys would have been finished. That uppercut he took, the uppercut went through. It's not like it just stopped. It actually went through, like, his chin, and it would have finished most fighters. Henderson's just it says some things about Henderson that, the guy's always in the fight. He's super game. But it also speaks badly about his chin, too. Because, man, I mean, seriously, he got dropped in the first and second round. I mean, pretty bad, A lot of guys in light heavyweight, too, are pretty heavy hitters as well. But, yeah, that was a really good win. It kind of sucks for Hua because he was looking a lot more patient, throwing a jab, even throwing some outside leg kicks. I mean, he was fighting well. He was fighting a good fight that would save him energy, yet do damage to Henderson. He was fighting a very smart fight. But obviously Henderson just has that difference maker of a right hand. It does snap a 3-fight losing streak for Henderson. And for Hua, I mean, this guy cannot get like 2 wins in a row in the UFC or something. It just... he won in great fashion against James Ahuna in his last fight. But, like, consistency is not in, like, Shogun's... it's not with Shogun these days. And, we'll just kind of see where he goes at this point. I know people say he should maybe try and cut to middleweight. That's definitely a possibility. If not, I'm thinking he gets, maybe Shogun gets, like, Little Nogueira or, like, Rogerio Nogueira or maybe a Bader next. You could also give him the loser of Davis versus Johnson. Or Jimmy Manuwa. Manuwa versus Shogun would be pretty cool as well. Dan Henderson, I mean, you can give him Daniel Cormier, the winner of Phil Davis versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. So there's some good fights for Henderson as well. He keeps finding ways to win, for sure. Despite his age, I count him out a lot. I gotta say, and it's hard not to, especially when you look at the first 2 rounds. Most of the comments I read about the fight, they all had the same reaction. That most had the same reaction. It wasn't, oh, he's gonna come back. It's, oh man, when's it gonna end? Like, oh man, he kept getting dropped. One more big shot, and then one. If he gets dropped one more time, they should call the fight. That's and the way the fight was going, you can't help but think, man, it's only a matter of time. But it was only a matter of time for Henderson to break Shogun's nose, pretty much, and just make him rolling across the octagon. Great win for Shogun. He needed that. Henderson needed that win too, real bad. I mean, it would have looked really bad if he had a 4-fight losing streak, He's just signed a new contract with the UFC. Shogun's just kind of stuck in the same place, You can give him some new prospects. If you even want to give him like an OSP, you can. Or he can fight, other fun fights. Some people say rematch. I don't really care for it. I like seeing rematch of Rogerio Nogueira. But yeah, he's kind of in that same spot at this point. He's a name. He has exciting fights, but he's definitely not in his prime. And he can beat some top guys. He'll lose to a good amount of top guys. He'll beat prospects. He'll probably lose to a prospect here or there as well. Arguably, Dan Henderson's kind of in that same spot. Arguably, So, well, let's see what happens with these 2 guys. Next fight, I thought CB Dale beat Cesar Mutanch. I always say Ferreira. They pronounce it a different way, and I totally forgot how they pronounce it. 39 seconds in the first round. I think I mentioned this in my predictions. I know I mentioned this in a couple comment sections, and various sites, MMA websites, but Cesar Mutanch just sucks at boxing range. This guy, I mean, He's a great kicker, but he's not a great boxer. And quite honestly, Dalloway's getting a lot better. He's a good wrestler. He's got good top control. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's solid. He's kind of hittable. But yeah, stand-up's greatly improving. He's at a very... I thought he beat Tim Boesch in his last fight. I picked Boesch to win, too, but I totally thought that Dalloway should have won. Dalloway needs like a top 10 opponent next. He's good enough for that. Maybe the winner... If Rockhold beats Boesch, I'd go with that. Maybe Rockhold, Dalloway. The winner of Kennedy versus Bisping. The winner of Brad Tavares versus Yoel Romero. Actually, that would be pretty cool. Romero versus Dalloway. Or the winner of Larkin versus Philippou. Those will all be fun fights for Dalloway. And Cesar Mutanz can just get the loser of that fight. I think, at 30 years old, I think CB Dalloway is finally, I guess, getting it. You know what I mean? He's putting it. I think he's finally putting it all together. Striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. I think he's definitely gonna hover around the maybe a number 9 or 10 spot. Definitely be around the 11 to 15 spot at this point. Maybe something like a Tim Kennedy. It looks like he's putting it together now. That's the thing. I mean, this is a good win. He knocked out. His opponent. And I think this says, Cesar Mutanz was one of the, I'd say, one of the better prospects in middleweight. If middleweight, it's definitely a solid division. I think I even said this in one of my shows, but it's not a great division. It's not welterweight, lightweight. Doesn't have the same talent as featherweight. It's just in the middle, and Cesar Mutanz just kind of demonstrates that he's a good prospect, but he's not a great prospect. He's not a blue chip prospect. Same as CB Dalloway, if you want to consider him a prospect, kind of same thing. He's not like an elite guy, but he's a good, well-rounded guy. So, as far as Cesar Mutanz's prospects go, I don't know. I think he'll just be a mid-tier guy. I think most guys box him up. I mean, Sergio Moraes managed to throw his wild looping punches and wobble him. It's just that part of his game especially just isn't that great. Good one for Dalloway, though. Definitely a guy that's just coming up, He was kind of in mid-tier purgatory for a while. I really do think he shot in the Boesch fight, but I think he really is putting it all together. He still has cardio issues. I've seen it before. He definitely tries stuff, and he's going for shoulder rolls and stuff, and he'll fight with his hands down. He did that against Boesch, and sometimes he'll work against some guys, but I don't know if it's something he should keep doing. Next fight off that, Norman Park beat Leonardo Santos. Why did I say that? Norman Park and Leonardo Santos fought to a majority draw. Okay, well, there's some hometown cooking here. I mean, it was Brazil, and it seemed like there were 2 occasions where the non-Brazilian guy got point deduction, really quick point deductions. And the reason why I say hometown cooking, 29-27 Santos. I don't see how he got the second or third round. I don't at all. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know how he got the first round. I thought I kind of had it for Norman Park, to be honest. I thought he got the first. I thought he got all 3 rounds. He just got that point deduction. And the thing is, it was a foul. I mean, he was grabbing the shorts. I don't really know. I guess it's up to the ref to decide, but it didn't come off like flagrant to me. It seemed like he was going for a takedown. Instead of grabbing the legs, he got shorts, and then he started to drive, and that's what happened. I don't think he purposely tried to grab his shorts to get the takedown. I will, this is a weird thing, and I'll go more with it in the Prazeres vs. Taisimov fight. Yes, there needs more to be, refs need to do more and to be more strict about fouls. Fence grabbing, it's fine, and in a sense, Yamasaki was kind of correct for the deductions. I think one thing is that's very confusing to like a viewer and some of the friends I watch it with. It's the precedent, like if you see a foul, usually it's a warning, not an immediate point deduction. So it's like, hey, don't grab the shorts. Oh shoot, I didn't realize, and then next time, they'll take a point off. This was just he grabbed shorts, point off. And I'm sorry to say, but it seems very curious that it was in Brazil. It seemed very curious that the Brazilian in Brazil got a 29-27 scorecard. I have to say, I don't know if it's just the refs that they got. And the ones that made the errors were like Yamasaki, or not the errors, who had the controversial calls. Was Yamasaki. He's known for that, actually. And I think it was like a Brazilian ref that did this Park versus Santos fight as well, if I'm not mistaken. And it's kind of funny because I'm like the last guy to actually call that type of thing. I really am, but like, two different fights, questionable judging. Look where they are. I mean, it's hard not to see, not to come to some sort of, conclusion, But the fact of the matter is, he did grab the shorts. I think the precedent usually is a warning, and then after that, you get points taken off. I personally would like to have seen that precedent kept. But at the same time, it's just a kind of a weird thing where it's like they do need to do more against fouls. As far as where these guys go next, they're both lower to mid-tier guys. I don't want them fighting each other again. They should just fight more lower to mid-tier fighters of their division. Okay, next right at that, Fabio Maldonado beat Jean Vellante by a unanimous decision. Maldonado is a good, gatekeeper type guy, he's always in the fight. He's got a super good chin. And he's always in your face. And he's always pushing forward, and he's super aggressive. His offense is good. He sets up. His offensive boxing is good. His defense is terrible. That's just his MO. Jean Vellante, for a guy they sport as he's great in the gym, so athletic, his cardio does tend to look bad as the fight goes on. He does tend to brawl when he shouldn't. His cardio looked terrible here. And actually, I believe some people were calling around the last 10 seconds of the fight for Herbine to stop the fight. Seriously, John Vellante was just like stumbling around the cage. It looked funny. It looked comical. He was so gassed and getting hit so much. and he was like bouncing off the cage, and just like wobbling around. John Volante did good in the first round with pretty much takedown and top control. Maldonado, when he's able to play his game, though, man, if he gets off first, gets you up against the cage, he will throw combinations and keep at it, and stick with a certain range that works well for him. And against the lower to mid-tier guys, it works really well. It helps he has a really good chin. It helps he actually has pretty good cardio considering the type of fights he does. That's another thing to talk about too, man. That, they were showing the temperature there. Gosh, how tough must have that been for a lot of these fighters too. I think Maldonado, though, I think he's on like a 2-fight win streak now. Maybe 3. I think he beat Beltran and in his last fight. Oh no, he beat Roger Carroll and Beltran. I think he's on a good, decent 3-fight win streak. Maybe gets like a Feijão next. OSP, who's come out that win over Nikita Krylov, or the winner of O'Connell versus Ryan Jimmo. Jean Volante, they need light heavyweights. I want to say this guy's a prospect, but he just doesn't always show it. Maybe the loser of O'Connell versus Jimmo. If you want to give another good fight, Jean Volante and Nikita Krylov would work as well. Or Jean Volante versus Igor Prokrayak, if Prokrayak's still signed with the UFC. So, yeah, those all work as well. And next fight that, Mikhail Prazeres beat Marbek Taisimov by unanimous decision, 30-25 scorecards. Now, this is Mario Yamasaki doing this fight, reffing this fight. He gave an immediate point deduction for Taisimov for grabbing the fence. He grabbed it again, and then what happens is he said, the next time you do it, I'm not going to give you a warning, I'll give you a DQ. It was kind of weird because he grabs the fence, gets a point off. And then, round 2, he grabs the fence, gets another point off. And, later on, he grabs a fence, and then gives him a warning that he'll get a DQ. It's really backwards, Shouldn't it be warning first, then point deductions? It just... Give me, give some sort of precedent, it's give some sort of structure to this, At the same time, I'll say this again. Fence grabbing's pretty bad. And the times that Taisimov did grab the fence were actually times that Prazeres would have gotten takedowns. So it is difference making in, these are fouls that actually do cause a difference in the fight. So in that sense, there should have some sort of strict penalty for what Taisimov was doing. Because you're doing something that's a foul that's affecting the momentum of the fight. Directly affecting the momentum of the fight. It just seemed very strange the way it was going about, obviously, by the ref. Like I said, 2-point deductions, then a warning, and then after that he'd get a DQ. It seems very strange, I don't think it's outside of what the ref's allowed to do or anything, but it just seems really strange. Make some sort of structure or something for how point deductions should be done. Like I said, I'm actually in favor of more point deductions for fouls so that people stop doing it. I wish people would get point deductions more for eye pokes. Fence grabbing's another egregious one. I forgot. Or Taisimov may have got another foul for... I forgot if it was fence grab. Oh, wait. Let me think. It was fence grab, and then I think he kicked him in the head in a position he wasn't supposed to be able to kick him in the head, and then fence grab. So, it's still very strange. I mean, it is very awkward, you know. Sucks for Tyson, but as far as the fight goes, I mean, it was Michal Prazeres getting takedowns, doing pretty decent in the stand-up as well. And then every time he took Tyson down, he passed a mount. I mean, this guy is a hulking lightweight. He's kind of like he reminds me of like Masran Duba in a sense. It's huge lightweight who's great at top control. You know, a bit older though, but he'd be a good like gatekeeper type. You know, Tyson, you know, he's 25 years old. I was hoping to see a little more from him. I thought he'd be able to defend takedowns better. His stand-up looked alright. It looks like he was a little too concerned about the takedowns. For a good reason. Both these guys, just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division for them. Okay, next fight after that, Hane Jason Bezeha defeated Steven Siler by TKO in the first round. I call early stoppage here. I mean, I picked Jason to win. I think if Jason was able to get more strikes in, more ground and pound, he probably would have finished the fight in a fair, you know, and a due stoppage. It was a good win for Jason. You know, he needed it after getting head kick KO'd by Jeremy Stevens. I kind of have this idea that they're just going to give him more mid to lower tier guys. They've been trying to build him up, you know, kind of slowly. Jason also has the option to cut down to 135. He's fought there before. I think he even fought Henan Barao at 135. So he always has that option to do that. Siler, you know, he's gonna win some, lose some, always in the fight. Some more lower to mid-tier guys for him. Okay, on to the prelims. Thiago Marreta Santos beat Honey Marks by TKO in the first round. Not good for Honey Marks, man. You know, he got knocked out by Yoel Romero in his last fight. Missed weight by 5 pounds. Or 4, I think he did 186. And then get knocked out, or TKO lost to Santos by a body kick and follow-up ground and pound. He was, you know, Santos was the biggest underdog and he won. And it kind of shaped the whole narrative of the underdogs winning this whole, you know, throughout this whole, you know, fight card. You know, I don't think anyone really predicted Santos to win this one. I mean, the guy is like an undersized middleweight, and Honey Marks is notoriously a huge middleweight. And, you know, he's a good wrestler. He's able to grind his opponents. And for him to lose in this manner, too. You know, it took Yoel Romero 3 rounds to knock him out. You know, was just really surprising. It really goes to show, like, anything can happen in MMA, you know. It also goes to show just, man, there are so many ways to win in MMA. I mean, body kick, flying knee, punches, ground and pound. So many different submission holds, you know. There are just so many ways to win in MMA. I think Santos will probably cut down to welterweight. He'll be a tall, lanky welterweight. Just fight more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. With Marks, 2 losses in a row, which wouldn't be too bad in this current landscape of the UFC where they have so many fight cards and they're keeping guys that are coming off like 2 losses in a row. However, when you miss weight and then lose by finish in this short amount of time, it's not the greatest look. I think he'll probably get cut, to be honest. He's a good middleweight prospect. He's still in his 20s. But, you know, it's definitely not a good look for him. If he does stay, just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. Next fight after that, Hussein Formiga beat Scott Jorgensen by rear naked choke in the 3 minutes and 7 seconds in the first round. This fight was controversial because clearly, I mean, when they showed the camera, I mean, there's a headbutt that pretty much got Jorgensen to the ground. He was saying, too, I believe on Twitter, that, like, yeah, it's pretty much, he was saying that he was pretty much knocked out by the headbutt, and when he waked up, he was getting choked out, more or less. You don't really see him fight the rear naked choke, too, so, very controversial. Makes me wonder if he's going to get this turned to a no contest or not. If not, man, I mean, he is not the most winningest fighter, and the last time he won was at like 135 against geez, forgot the guy's name, but you know, he won there, but he's lost to only like great guys like Eddie Wineland, Henan Barral, Faber, and then Zach Makovsky, and now Formiga. I mean, he's only lost like the best guys, and that one win he got was against like a lower level guy, you know. So it's definitely not good for Jorgensen right now. Don't know if he's gonna get cut. I want to say he's on a 3-fight losing streak now. Yeah, it's Faber, Makovsky, Formiga. Great win for Formiga though. He's still kind of a one-dimensional guy. But, you know, maybe he gets a guy like a Luis Gaudinot who's coming off a win. Maybe Zach Makovsky if you want to go higher up there, Moraga. Pickett's coming off a win. If you want to give him someone lower that's coming off a win, Luis Smolka. I'd probably go more, because Formiga is a ranked guy, I'd probably give him someone like a Makovsky or Moraga or Pickett or something like that. Some of the more well-known guys or some of the more top-level fighters. If Jorgensen stays, it's more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. Next fight after that, Kenny Robertson beat Thiago Badal Perpetuo by rear naked choke, 1 minute and 45 seconds in the first round. Man, Thiago just looked incompetent in this fight. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. He got head kicked pretty bad. I know his defense was always really bad. Managed to get a takedown. And then from there, he ended up on the bottom, mounted, you know. I think it was a clinch takedown. Immediately mounted, couldn't get on the mount, just got pounded out. Then he got a rear naked choke while he was bleeding to death, you know. And it was a good win for Kenny Robertson, for sure. I thought the size of Thiago Perpetuo would be a big factor in this fight, but it wasn't. Because even though you're the bigger fighter, if you have defensive holds, you still have defensive holds. I mean, that's the way it works. You know, Perpetuo is still a really fun fighter, but this was 2 losses on a row. He is cutting into a new weight class. I can see the UFC still keeping him, though, and they should probably just give him some more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. Robertson, you know, he's one of those guys that'll win a couple, you know. He'll win against a Brock Jardine or Perpetuo, lose to Sean Pearson. You know, he's not. He's kind of like he's like the definition of like a mid-level guy. You know, good wrestler, good jiu-jitsu, decent. You know, good enough stand-up for sure. But like, you know, he's not the most. You know, he'll win a couple, lose a couple. That's the thing. He should just fight more lower to mid-tier guys of his division. Next fight after that, Hans Stringer beat Francimar Barroso. I forgot how they pronounce this one too, by split decision. Yeah, you know, it was a close fight. It wasn't a great fight by any means. You know, Stan was kind of speaking very well of Hans Stringer. I mean, yeah, his stand-up's not too bad. His wrestling wasn't too bad either. You know, but it seemed very solid but not spectacular, you know. They do need more light heavyweights He's definitely a light heavyweight prospect. It's more lower to mid-tier guys for both these guys. There's not much I can say about the fight. It wasn't like a great fight, Francimar was getting some of the better leg kicks for the most part. Stringer was getting better takedown or better striking. Managed to get Francimar on his back throughout the whole first round. There's not much to say about this fight really. And finally, Godofredo Pepe beat Noel Lahat by knockout by flying knee. 2 minutes and 39 seconds of the first round. It's hard for me to pick Pepe to win fights because he is just so wild. The way he throws is so untechnical and so looping and so off balance. I'm not gonna lie. Despite this win, it's a really cool win, it's gonna sound like I'm really discrediting him, but the way he's lost to ground and pound to Sam Cecilia, and then the fight before that and whatnot. He hasn't shown me to be like a UFC caliber guy. Nonetheless, he had a much needed win here over an undefeated prospect. Just more and a very spectacular win at that. Being wild can definitely help because it helps you be unpredictable at least. Just more lower to mid-tier guys at the division for both these guys. So that's it for my UFC Fight Night 38 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.